SNP spokesperson Deirdre Brock.
Madam Deputy Speaker, firstly, I will take the Leader up on last week's offer of a deeper briefing with the Minister on what she described as some minor issues to resolve in the border operating model. If, as she told me last week, she is paying great attention to what's going on and still didn't see huge lorries as they wait 20 hours at border posts, perhaps she should take a trip to Barnard Castle. I'd like to take the CEO of the Cold Chain Federation, whose members certainly don't agree with her that there are no fundamental issues to sort, to that briefing with me to deliver a dose of reality. Can we have a debate in government time on the careful use of words in politics? The Prime Minister has refused to apologise for his offensive outburst on Monday. He quite deliberately associated the Scottish Government with Hamas terrorists, North Korea and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Madam Deputy Speaker, the good folk of Edinburgh North and Leith have elected a dangerous extremist. Who knew? And the vast majority of MPs from Scotland who also want independence. Them too. All along we thought we were democratically elected members of this House just like her. You'd think the Conservatives of Brexit Britain would respect a nation's right to self-determination as a perfectly honourable political position. Or is it just Scotland's they don't respect? But we will always defend our nation's best interests. Maybe that's what terrifies the PM and the likes of the Scottish Secretary who wants to force ruinously expensive, untried nuclear reactors on renewables-rich Scotland. Yeah. Now he's frightening our bairns with threats of a unionist regime. Scottish Labour back in power to push through our overlords' cunning plans. What a better together reunion that would be. Remind me what happened to that respect agenda. It would almost be funny if it wasn't coming from this particular government. An unknown number of convicted prisoners let loose around England. The Home Office losing thousands of migrants under their watch. And an English courts and justice system on the verge of collapse. But what's on the Prime Minister's new hate list? What keeps Tories awake at night with fear? People like me, apparently. How laughable. Can the Leader confirm if she believes the Prime Minister was right to associate Scottish Democrats with those Hamas terrorists and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, or will she take this opportunity to distance herself from this laughably desperate baloney?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, can I first reassure the Honourable Lady that there is A, nothing wrong with my eyesight, and secondly, that she does not keep me awake at night. Could I also just draw her attention to the news this week that the Eurozone economy is growing half as fast as Britain? I'll just repeat that. The Eurozone economy is growing half as fast as Britain. And I think that the SNP's time would be better spent not trying to refight past referendums of all types, but more focused on the issues today. For example, the housing emergency that has just been declared in Scotland due to their rent control policy. She raises the very serious matter of the Prime Minister's language, and I understand that thanks to the Scottish Government, you can now fill in a hate report form. So if the Honourable Lady has any concerns, she can just fill in a report and pile more work onto her hard-pushed police officers. With regard to the plans to put a nuclear power station in Scotland, it is, I think, sensible to plan for a unionist party to be in government in Scotland. Given the time scales involved in nuclear construction, I don't think that is I think it is a sensible and pragmatic thing to do. It is very clear to everyone, except the SNP, that their party is in their final death throes. And I predict, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the tragic finale of that, when the SNP finally do completely implode and meet their end, is that there will still be no ferry to carry them across the Styx.
Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm going to give it one more try. Given that the Prime Minister now thinks that at least around half of the people in Scotland who believe Scotland should be a self-governing independent country are extremists, will the Leader of the House make a statement setting out whether or not she agrees with this assessment? And can she confirm, for the purposes of clarity, whether or not she believes that those who wish to rejoin the EU are also dangerous extremists in our midst?
The union of the United
Leader
Kingdom
of the House.
is critical to our strength, and were it to be torn apart, which is the prime objective of the honourable members on the bench opposite, we would be weaker as a nation, and the component parts of the United Kingdom would be weaker as a nation. Scotland would be weaker, England would be weaker, Wales would be weaker, Northern Ireland would be weaker. That is a threat to our stability and security, certainly. That is what the Prime Minister said. And if the Honourable Lady thinks he said something else, she can fill in that hate form.
Johnson.
Deputy Speaker, earlier this week the Scottish Secretary seemed to outline an intent to disregard democracy and run roughshod over devolution. Now, the dangerous extremists on these benches believe that democracy is not just a one-time event. So, as we mark 25 years of the Scottish Parliament, could we have a debate in government time to consider how this place can better respect devolution and as it advances towards Scotland becoming an independent nation?
Leader of the House.
Well, that's shocking news about the Secretary of State for Scotland. I thought he was a man that respected the results of all referendums. I think that is supporting democracy. And with regard to devolution, I think if we had a debate on how devolution is working and what the possibilities are for the future, it would be very well attended by members of this House. The chair of the Backbench Business Committee is listening to what I am saying. But I would also just say that when devolution was envisaged, the plan was set in place by parties and nations working together for the benefit of all, as opposed to working against each other.